Hello and welcome. Today's guest is the host of the TV show Where All Things Are Possible and the podcast On Air with Kate Butler. A multiple #1 international best-selling author and publisher, she is the creator of the Inspired Impact book series and the president and CEO of Kate Butler Books. Having published over 300 #1 best-selling authors, she is truly an expert on taking your story and bringing it to life in a best-selling book. Passionate about amplifying your message, she recently created the Soulful Celebrity, a one-stop media shop dedicated to enhancing your credibility, increasing your visibility, and leveraging your message to scale your impact and your income. Please welcome Kate Butler. Welcome, Kate. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
So before publishing, you had a successful career.
Yes, I had a successful career in corporate, and things were going just fine. That's all you can say, right? And so here I am saying, to my children, go out there and live your best life, live life to its optimum fulfillment. And I was sitting around going am I going to be doing this for the rest of my life? Am I going to be going to this job and, doing these exact things, and this will be my life, moving forward? Is that what I'm choosing? And so I was in a corporate position. It was just fine. But, it wasn't lighting me up inside. I wasn't jumping out of bed in the morning to, go do this. And when I really stopped to think about it, and it wasn't until I became a mom that I really did start to consider this, that, was I really put on this earth to do this job? And for some people, that job is 100% what they're supposed to be doing with their lives. They're making a huge impact and a difference. But for me, the answer was no. This wasn't why I was put here. And so I felt like I had a responsibility to my children to say, well, I might not know what my gift is, what my purpose is, what the next step in the path is, but I owe it to them to at least start to follow those inspired actions to take me on the path that is my purpose and begin to explore it. You mentioned about the children's books and how we now help people do that. It's remarkable to hear that back, right? Because when we started, I say we because my children are involved in my business now. My husband is involved in my business now. It's a whole family affair, but when I started and when we started, I didn't know anyone that had published a book. I was learning and researching and making a ton of mistakes along the way. We had to go through those motions, and that was just me following my path. And sometimes we just have to do it first, right? Sometimes you are the person to do it first. And so I'm so grateful that I was guided there to do that, because now, people do come to us, and we have been able to kind of take what I've learned over the past 10 years. That was when I published my first children's book 10 years ago. And we've been able to take those processes and really make a very, very simple process for anyone to plug into, and also allow their dream of publishing a children's book or, really any type of book to come true. And it's been a remarkable journey. But right, sometimes we must go first and really go after what is going to ignite us and get us jumping out of bed in the morning. And that's what that did for me.
Absolutely. And going first as the trailblazer, paving the way, identifying that process, making the mistakes, course correcting, learning from them, developing the processes and systems that now you're able to share with your clients, that couldn't have been easy. So how did you find that courage to take that first step?
Yeah. So, really what was the driving force behind that is I can either stay here and be comfortable for the rest of my life, but never know what it would have been like. or I can go out and I can fail and I can make mistakes and it's not going to be easy, but at least I will at the end of it have known that I tried. And I thought to myself that it was better to have just gone after it, right? Regardless of what the outcome was, than look back and say, I never gave it a shot. And so that's really been my driving force. You know, I've been very lucky to have had that business background. And although I wasn't meant to stay in corporate for the rest of my life, every step along the way was absolutely a stepping stone in my path. You know, I can look back right now and connect so many of the dots, you know, of how that really set me up to start my own company, to help people with their publishing and start to build a business out of their book and help them with their marketing, right? This is all my corporate background, which I have now paired with this passion for helping people fulfill their own dreams, but also being able to help them succeed at that in business by bringing these two things together, right? So although I was meant to start a new path, it doesn't mean that the old path wasn't relevant and wasn't necessary, right? It's all perfect, right? Like exactly where you are is perfect, but you don't have to stay there, right? If you are feeling a pull towards more, you still get to choose something else. It doesn't mean that your old path was wrong. It means that you still get to choose where you're going next.
Now, you mentioned earlier that when you were taking those first few steps, that you didn't really know what your purpose was. You just knew that you were meant for more. You knew that your corporate career wasn't going to be the thing you did for the rest of your life. So, what is the process that you used to uncover your passion, uncover your purpose?
Sure. So along the way here, as we all have many stories and many layers, of course, right? My children were, you know, a major part of the beginning of what led me on that path. And you know, I'll be honest, and you know, if somebody out there needs to hear this, I want to make that okay. That I couldn't do it for myself in the beginning, right? It really was that stepping up and doing it for my children that kind of pulled me out of my rut, if you will. But also, you know, I want to share that I also, as a layer to this story, was diagnosed with a heart condition while I was in my late 20s. And so I had this very powerful moment, you know, at a somewhat young age where, you know, I was going in for heart surgery and they weren't quite sure if I was making it, you know, to the weekend. I remember walking in, I was living with my best friend that I grew up with at the time. And we were both in this condo and she had other friends over and I walk in, I had just gotten this news and, they were all planning where they were going to eat that next weekend. And they were also talking about the summer concerts that they wanted to buy tickets to. And I just remember losing it saying, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know that I make it there. Like, I don't even know that I make it to the weekend dinner plans. I don't even know that I make it to the summer concerts, right? Because here I was, you know, at 27 years old, faced with this news. And so I remember when I'm here, obviously the doctors did an amazing job and they were able to go in and fix the problem. And, you know, obviously with the beautiful medicine that we have available to us today, we've been able to really keep up with that ever since. And I've been healthy and it's been a really beautiful journey of awareness because I realized in that moment that it was kind of a wake up call for me, right? It was like, you know, you can just go on living this way or be aware of how precious time is because there is more for you here. There is more for you here, but you must go after and get it. And I remember having that awareness at 27. I made some major, major life changes at 27, right? I started to take my job more seriously, right? I changed where I lived. I just made these very, like, if you take every area of your life, like your business area of your life, right? Your relationships area of your life, your personal area of your life. If you take all these really important elements, I started to invest in each one of them in a very different way at that young age, right? And I said, you know what? It's not really about, you know, the going out to dinner and the going to the concerts anymore, right? Like I need to make a shift because I know I'm here for more. And then what happened when I started a family and became a new mom about about 7 years later, is I got myself back into that rut again. And so, and I want to let people know, like, it's okay, right? That this is life. It's not always going to be like I'm on an upward swing and then it stays there forever. You can find yourself back in the valley again. And so your question was like, how did I know the steps to take? And I just want to really benchmark, these pivotal moments in my life, because I went back to that moment, right? When I had that heart surgery, and I said, you know what, you have been given this awareness. Right? You have already been given this moment that you know how precious life is. And if you feel a pull, if you feel a tug, if you feel like there's more, then it is up to you to go out and get it. And you know the difference. You know that it can be taken away at any moment, right? And so when you are so acutely aware from that perspective, laying there, in the hospital, looking up at the doctors, being woken up saying like, okay, like we did it, we were successful, but not knowing if that sentence was going to come next, right? When you're faced with that, then all of a sudden, that's real power that you can pull when you're in those moments again. So I want you to know that it wasn't just like, steps that I took, although I did, and I will share those, but there's so much more to our lives. There's so many more tools that are in our backpack that we can go back and pull out when we need them. And it's called our life experience.
Yep.
It's called what you've been through, right? It's called what you've overcome. It's called really using those challenges that you've been through and pouring them into your new successes, right? And so all of that came with me. Right? All of that came with me. And then I asked a very simple question. What would you prefer?
Yeah.
What would you prefer? So if this isn't it, what would you prefer? And I started asking that with everything, right? Where would you prefer to live? What would you prefer to be doing if you were to jump out of bed every morning, right? What would you prefer that your days look like? How would you prefer to spend time with your children? How would you prefer to interact with your husband? How would you prefer to engage with your friends? How would you prefer to show up in the world? How would you prefer to help people? How would you prefer to serve at a higher level? So I started to ask these questions and allowing the answers to come. I got still. I journaled, I meditated, I allowed the answers to come. I said, I am open to receiving it. I don't know the answers in this moment, but I know that I can ask the question that's going to invite the answers in. And then it was my job to receive them, because the answers are always trying to come to me, right? But we're often so busy that they fly right by. And so in that moment, I realized, it's time for me to be still again. Just like when the universe stopped me in my tracks with that heart surgery and said, you're not listening. You're not listening. So we're going to stop you. You're not going to be able to not stop right now. Right? Yeah. It is happening. We are stopping you in your tracks. And so I knew not to let it get that far. Right? I already had that kind of wake up call, but here I was again saying, got it. So I'm going to ask the questions and I'm going to listen to the answers. And when they come, I'm going to pray that I have enough courage to follow them through. And that's really what I did all along the way.
So how did you navigate, speaking of courage, the fear when you asked great questions, you got still and heard the answers? Undoubtedly, there was fear and uncertainty of, how do I do that? Or the limiting beliefs that often come up, the self-doubt that creeps in with, wow, okay, I got the message. Now, how do I act on that? Or am I good enough to act on that? Or will I be successful when I act on that? Or do I know enough? All of that dialogue that so many people have on a daily basis. How did you navigate that?
Sure. So, first and foremost, I was really blessed by being introduced to the tool that helped me the most throughout my entire process, which was meditation. And I was introduced to that very, very early in this journey of, what I'll call, the shift in my life, the major shift that took me from being a new mom, from kind of swirling in my life a little bit, from being just fine to kind of being a little bit self-destructive, right? And not really knowing what direction I was going in, to a place of knowing clearly what my purpose is in my life and showing up fully for that every day, right? So that's kind of a big gap, what I just described there, right? And so, early on in this shift to get to that end place that I described, I was introduced to meditation. And now, so I grew up in Catholicism and I grew up in prayer, and I still pray, I think that there are different forms of prayer. I think there are different forms of meditation. For me, prayer is a conversation with God. For me, a prayer, a lot of times I'm asking, I'm having a dialogue. This is an engagement. And for me, meditation is a stillness. It's receiving from God. And so it's more of like, in prayer, it's kind of a put out, and in meditation, it's a receive in, if you will. And everybody has a different way of looking at it and interacting with their higher power. I think it's all perfect. For me, that is how I, tend to communicate and really work with my higher power, right? And so it took, when I learned how to receive in, it was a game changer for me. And I'm not saying I didn't have limiting beliefs, and I'm not saying that the fear wasn't there, but I felt for the first time in my life this unwavering calmness and strength that overpowered the fear. And I've only found that through meditation. It was like igniting that inner knowing and that inner power within myself for the first time. It's like, of course I had seen glimpses of that and moments of that, and maybe even pockets of time of that throughout my life. But I didn't know like that I was accessing and bringing that out in that moment. Like I didn't make the connection that I could be the one to do that. So my first meditation teacher was Dina Proctor, and she said that meditation changed her life in 30 days, like changed every aspect of her life in 30 days. She was on the verge of suicide, and in 30 days, her life completely shifted and changed. And I said to myself, and I knew this person, I worked with her for years, and I knew her personally. And so I thought to myself, this is someone I trust, right? This is someone I know, and I am really I'm receiving in this information. And I said, well, I'm going to try it for 30 days because I can always go back. I can always go back to the way things are. So I tried it for 30 days. I said, I'm going to commit. And I'll tell you, it took me about 47 days, because when I missed a day, I would go back to one. It only took me like 2 times to doing that. I was like, no, I'm not missing anymore. I'm not doing this again. I'm not starting over again, right? And so it took me about 47 days, and I meditated for 30 days consistently. And I will tell you, by about the 2.5 week mark, I started to get that feeling of calmness, of strength. And for the first time in my life, for the first time ever in my life, a feeling of inner joy. And what I mean by that is I had experienced joy before, and happiness and elation before. Okay. But everything was always connected to something outside of myself. Okay. It was, I had an amazing vacation, or I had a beautiful moment, or it was family holidays, or the birth of my children, or the marrying of my husband, or, and then also I would allow people to dictate my inner joy and happiness. Right. So if my husband was having a great day and he came home from work, we were having a great night. And if he had a bad day, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I would allow myself to dip, to be in harmony, right, with those I love the most. And when I started to meditate, I went, okay, hold on a second. I have this own harmony and balance within myself that I actually can control, right? That I really can get a handle on, and I can really, truly be. Okay, regardless of what is going on around me, regardless of what anyone else is feeling, doing, experiencing. Okay, I get to choose what my reaction is to that. I get to choose how I'm experiencing that in this moment. So those 30 days of truly tapping into that power within myself for the first time, that set me up for this new journey. So I had enough strength within that practice, taking that step to meditate for 30 days straight, to start to take these first steps in, the publishing and the writing and the journey and, all the things that we're going to go, starting a new business, right? All the things that we're going to go along with that. And because I was really tuned in here, okay, to myself, to my inner power, to what I was clear about, what I was allowing in, and what I was clear about, what I was not allowing in. Okay. So I remember I was asking the questions, what would I prefer? So I was getting clear about what I was attracting into myself. I was harnessing the inner power that I had, right? And really focusing on my joy, my strength, my inner power, my connection to source. So I'm being now guided from something way higher than myself. So now I'm saying like, who can I show up for today in my purpose, and being guided to that. So from these pieces, I had enough strength to show up for those first couple of steps. And when I did, it's like they say, you take one step, the universe will take 1,000. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I took the step and it was like, boom, 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 boom. All these things started to fall into place. And I went, whoa, I only took one step, right? What happens if I take two? So then I would take 2 steps and it was like, boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, all these things start to fall into place again. And I went, oh my gosh, this is what they talk about. This is the magic. This is alignment. And then I really started to focus on what you would call these little tiny miracles throughout the day. I went, okay, hold on. This isn't a coincidence. Not a coincidence that these things are happening. Not a coincidence that I made a conscious choice to make a change in my life. Not a coincidence that I made a conscious choice to say, I'm going to show up for something more, a higher purpose for myself, right? I'm going to show up to see how can I serve more with what I've been given and show up more for this world. Not a coincidence that because I did that and I showed up and I got in tune with myself, my inner power, right? What I was capable of. It's not a coincidence. Now all these things are showing up for me. Not a coincidence. These are miracles. These are miracles.
Yeah, when you showed up for yourself, the universe showed up for you. When you made the decisions to step into that power, into your purpose, into the impact. I love the question, who can I serve today? That focus on the service aspects, showing up for someone else, helping others, and then you are fully supported and fully guided by your intuition, by source, by the universe. I love that. And even the best of us can occasionally feel burnt out or overwhelmed. So self-care is absolutely critical. What do you do in addition to your rock solid morning routine to prioritize yourself and to ensure that you are carving out the time for self-care?
I go on vacation. And you know this because you know me. I am a traveler. No, really, I remove myself from my environment. When I am burnt out, when I am in one of those ruts that I just can't get myself out of. Because you're right. Like, look, this is ideal, but we are human and we are here to learn. So we're always given these learning opportunities, these learning moments at all times throughout our life, right? Like, we can get into that. That's a whole nother, kind of trail we can go down, if and when that's applicable. But I remove myself from the environment, because when we remove ourselves from the environment, and by the way, this is what, and I really like to be outside and work out outside in some way. Like yesterday I did my morning workout and the kids got home and it was a beautiful day. We went on a family bike ride. Okay. Because I really like to be in nature as well, right? So when we can combine those two things, that's awesome. I love to hike. I love to walk. I love, all of these different things, right? But that's an easy way to remove yourself from the environment. Get yourself out of your office, out of the chair. Look at things from a different perspective. Look at things in another way. Like stand here and say like, right? Like I am on this planet that is spinning in the middle of the universe, right? Like so surrounded by all of these stars and surrounded by the sun. And we start to put ourselves in this perspective of like, wow, like when we've really taken the vastness of what this exact moment is in time and space right now, all of a sudden you're like, okay, wow, right? Like I can come back and I can figure this out, right? Or I can put it in perspective and say, I was feeling like this was a huge deal, not that big of a deal, right? Like it's not that, and in the grand scheme of all of this, right? Like, let's put this in perspective. So I do that a lot. I take myself out, and I do that also through actually removing myself for days at a time from my environment. When I didn't have the resources, the money, what I'm being specific to do that kind of thing, we would figure out a way to either, my parents and I would switch houses, and, they had like a house near the beach or something like that. And they would come watch the kids, or we would go to friends' houses. And, there's always a way. There's always, always, always a way. Okay. So even when we didn't have a lot of money to take like a week-long vacation, we would figure out a way to like do a night at a local place, right? Or my husband and I, or something like that. But now, we have built it to a point where we can go on vacation, and we were very blessed to be able to do that. But I will work on vacation. I will get clarity, and then I'll get those downloads and that creativity. It's like where I almost sometimes do my best work. And so when I get to that point, I absolutely, I switch it up. What I am doing, I am not afraid to say what I am doing right now isn't working. I am not afraid to switch it up. Okay. And so I will actually switch it all up and then come back and say, okay, what's working? I also want to make a point that is a framework of my morning routine. And by the way, you can get my morning routine right on my website. Okay. It's a complimentary tool that we give everybody and really walk you through step by step. And what you'll find in there is it gives you categories of choices to make up your own morning routine. So I gave you a framework. Okay. I said meditation. I said integrate into your body. I said future visioning of some sort. There are different ways that you can do that. So although I'm always doing that framework every day, I'm doing it in different ways every day. Okay. So sometimes my meditation is a walking meditation, and I can combine those two things. Okay. Sometimes I'm doing a guided meditation. Sometimes my meditation is a visualization of my vision board. So it's not like I'm doing the exact same thing every single day. I do it for as long as it works. And when it doesn't work anymore, I switch it up and I try something new. Okay. So I think it's really important to always be evaluating ourselves like that, so that we can be moving forward.
Absolutely. So I love that point that you made about switching it up, because I think, and having a framework, because I think so many people get caught in, it has to be like this. This is how I have to do it, or I'm doing it wrong. And so I thank you for putting that in perspective, and for understanding this is a framework, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do. So try it. Try something, see what works for you. If it's working, amazing, do more of it. If it's not working, switch it up, try something else until you find your groove. So I love that. And I also love your point about layering it in. So I love to call that net time. I learned that from Tony Robbins, or habit stacking. That's another common term for it. But I love your point that you can simultaneously be taking your walk. So you're outside, you're getting that self-care, you're in a different environment, you're getting your exercise, you're moving your body while you are doing a meditation, while you are doing future visioning, while you are doing these other components of your routine. So thank you for bringing up those points. They are really helpful for our audience. So how can people contact you? What is that website where they should go?
Sure. Yeah. So people can work with us in just a few different ways. We help people publish their #1 best-selling book, their #1 best-selling children's book, or if they aren't interested in writing a full book right now, we offer people chapters in a book, and they can become a best-selling author, and we help them write their story and write their chapter, and we walk them through every step of the way in all of these situations. And then if you have an online business, or you already have a book, we also have what's called the Soulful Celebrity program, which is helping you expand your platform through TV, television, magazine, podcast. I don't know if I said TV, television, same thing. But you get it. All the ways, all the media ways. And we really plug you in not only how to pitch and how to get yourself set up for media, but we actually secure all of that media for you, and wrap it up in a nice bow at the end, so that you have a repurposing package for your platform, and for your business moving forward in this beautiful opportunity that we have of online business. Right? I always say, like, whoever is not taking advantage of online business right now, regardless of what you do. There's some form of you being able to take advantage of this time and space that we're in. It's a beautiful opportunity for everyone, and we accelerate you in doing that. And so that's generally how we work with people. We talked a lot today about miracles and mindset. And we also have a program called the Pathway to Miracles that really helps people not only stay on that path, but if you're new to all of this and get on that path, if this is familiar to you, it helps you stay on that path by walking you through just tidbits every single day for 30 days. And you can do it over again at any time. All of that can be found on our website at katebutlerbooks.com.
katebutlerbooks.com, the place to be. So, Kate, any parting words that you would like to share with our audience?
I'm so grateful to be here today for this opportunity to be with you, Ellie. I love any time I can spend with you. And, you know, I just would love to say that everything you do, whether it's a small step, on track, off track, whatever step you take is a meaningful step. You know, oftentimes we ask ourselves, myself included, I just wrote about this a few days ago, you know, is anything I'm doing landing, right? Like, and I have published over 300 number one best-selling authors, and I still ask myself, like, is anything I'm doing landing? Is it really making a difference? And I'll tell you that, you know, a few years ago, I woke myself up at about 4:30 in the morning because I had an opportunity to be on a morning television show that was 2.5 hours away from my house. They already start early, right? And my call time was super early, and everyone thought I was nuts. They were like, "Just wait for something local," and I was like, "Yeah, like I have local opportunities too, but I feel this pull, like I want to do this, right?" And so I adjusted, I made it work, I made the extra effort, and I went. And I did this, morning show. I got the, general 3 minutes and 30 seconds that you get on the news in the morning if you are lucky enough to have that opportunity. And that was that, I think my parents might have seen it, but nobody really got the channel because it was 2.5 hours away. And I just was, it's one of those moments where you're like, why did I make all of that effort? Like, honestly, is anything I'm doing really landing here? Like, I'm putting it all out and I'm making all of this effort. And what am I getting back from this? Okay. Fast forward several years later to 2 weeks ago, one of my clients in my newest book, Women Who Dream, sent me this message and said, "I just figured it out. I knew your name sounded so familiar." She said, "I was visiting my family in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and they had the morning news on when we were eating breakfast. And this woman came on, and she started talking about mindset and books. And it was a short-lived segment, but it stuck with me. And I remember saying to myself, I have to get in touch with Kate Butler. And I wrote it down in my journal, and I wrote down your website that you said during that segment." She said, "And I opened up that same journal to write my story for Women Who Dream because I wanted to remember something from that time period of my life. And it was years ago." And she said, "And I realized that I wrote your name down and that we needed to connect it. And a friend actually ended up introducing us for Women Who Dream all these years later. And she forgot about it until she opened up the journal to actually write her story for our next book." And she went, "I planted the seed then. So just so you know, if you ever wonder if it matters or if it's making a difference, it is landing. It is landing with the people who need your message. So show up, share that message. You might not even know about it for years and years and years to come, but it is making a difference to those who need it." That's what I would love to end with today.
So beautiful, so powerful. Miracles happen, miracles abound, and you are a miracle. Thank you so much, Kate. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and the privilege is mine. Till next time.